hard to do. That is hard to do.
That's one of the reasons why I like doing invited anthologies, is because the editor essentially set a challenge to me, and it becomes the thing I try to write to and try to answer the question of that challenge in the story.
How much clout do your characters have? Did you ever intend this novel to go, or story to go in one direction, and that the characters just won't cooperate and turn it completely around?
I smack my characters around.
My characters are my bitches.
Yeah. The most uppity, the most problems I have with uppity characters is when a character shows up and I go, oh man, you were supposed to be here for like a chapter and a half and then die horribly. It's kind of cool. I'm going to have to keep you and use you later. All right, you have amused me enough that I will butters and use you again.
A story that starts with a mind should do this more often, write itself or characters. It's like, is it going to be more interesting if I let it go that way? Otherwise, I need to not bitch smack the characters down, but go back far enough in order to make the change that will have them go in the way I want. So for me, it changes depending on what's going on. It's kind of a collaboration with the characters in a sense, although I'm still God. But if there's something going on and it's more interesting, like your character is more interesting, or I put these two characters together, they're best friends who had fallen out of contact for a decade, and they ran into each other, and I'm writing, it's like, my God, they argue about everything. But it's more interesting, so, and of course, for a reader, it's going to be a hell of a lot more interesting if they're in conflict a lot of the time. Reasonable, meaningful conflict, not conflict because they're stupid idiots. Reasonable, intelligent conflicts and disagreements. It was a lot more interesting writing that for me, so I know for readers it would be as well.
Yeah. Then you look at those characters and go, if anybody asked, this was my idea.
I had a character that was supposed to be a walk-on, and he's now the main character of book 3. He was just really cool.
Yeah, in addition to those, sometimes I let my characters mouth off a little bit.
All of this stuff is still being produced by your brain, but it's being produced by parts of your brain that are not very schematic.
My characters actually can pretty much take on their own lives. When I was writing Final Impact, one of that turned out to be a very main character was a woman named Lily, and I created her to die. And she's not only in Final Impact, she's in Red Shadows 20 years later. And I'm not quite sure how that happened. When I'm writing and I really get into it, I don't actually see the computer screen. I'm just seeing the thing in my head, and I'm actually hearing the voices. I finished Concrete Savior, which is the next book in this one, and I did a lot of it to make the deadline. I did a lot of it on a little dictaphone, going to and from work. And you'd be surprised how fast that drive is, because I'm not really seeing the road. I hear the turn signal on the tape, like, oh, that's when I got home.
I think we have time for maybe.
I think you got this guy going
Was
for
he
a while.
first?
Jim, on your blog, you said that one of your inspirations was a writer who has the action and sequel form of plotting your books. Yes, no?
Well, yeah.
Okay.
Well, the scene sequel thing, yeah. That
Scene and sequel.
that was what I was trying to prove to my writing teacher what she was wrong about.
Oh. It didn't work, did it? Do you have any other books that would be useful advice as opposed to some of the many that I've read?
It was either Bickham or Swain. I think the Writer's Digest put out a couple of books. One is called Scene and Structure. I think it's by Swain. It might be by Jack Bickham. They were the ones who taught my teacher. Yeah.
I actually recommend How Not to Write a Novel
I've got that one,
I
yeah.
have a question here.
For the authors who've written continued pieces, a multiple book piece, have you ever written something and submitted it to your editor, only to find out that you've not been internally consistent in your universe, and you've gone, oh shit, now I've got to rewrite so many pages, so many words?
My editor has never looked at, has never caught one of those and said, here it is.
It doesn't get
But
that far.
It doesn't get that far. I've got a group of beta readers who read it as I'm working on it, and I'll go, Jim, you killed this character in book 3. Gosh, yeah, you're right. I'd forgotten about that completely. Yeah, fans are...
12 books now, you can't get all those details in your head.
No, the readers know the stuff so much better than I do, it's not even funny. By the time I write a rough draft, and then clean it up a bit, and then let the beta readers at it, and then clean that up a bit, and then give it to the editor, and then there's copy edits and line edits, and then there's proofs, and I've seen like 7 slightly different versions of the same book, which is way harder to keep track of than the folks who are reading. They get the final product and they go, aha, and they only have it for once. But yeah, I mean, I go to the fans for help. I go, sometimes I'll wonder about a detail in my book and go, that's in one of my books, I wonder where, and I'll go, oh, never mind, I go to the fan wiki. There it is, right there. All right, I love the internet.
Fans are good.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, maybe you can find that you can build on the web that knows so much more than
One of our previous guests, Tim Zahn, his wife has an encyclopedic knowledge of this book. He actually was seeing it, he'd go, which one of my books is that? And it's, bam.
That would be awesome.
I'll bet she could write a spreadsheet for you.
I do not love him that much. How about one of those Excel sheets?
Right.
Well, I think we're about,
That's about it.
yeah, that's about the, we want to get down to opening ceremonies, so.